Hello book lovers and welcome to Book Talk Radio Club. My name is Claire Perkins and today I'm talking to Paul D. Lowe. Paul is the founder of Heart, helping everyone achieve results towards success. He made a remarkable transformation from many years existing in dark, desperate despair to now living a really healthy, happy and fulfilling life. He is passionate about helping others to find their purpose, have a voice and make a difference. He's also the co-author of the Speaking from Our Hearts books. Hello Paul, welcome and thank you for coming on Book Talk Radio Club.
Thank you for inviting me, Claire. Really looking forward to this.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Your books, Speaking from the Heart 1 and 2, what is the message behind them?
Very simple really, Claire. No matter what your past experiences, there's always a new script to be written. So, if the book was a horror story reflecting your life, that's fine. It's time to write a new chapter now.
Okay. So who are they aimed at? In other words, who will benefit most from the message?
Really very simple terms. People that are just looking for answers. I call them pebbles in shoes because I think, as we travel through life, we learn to deal with things and we suppress them and we just push them away, we deflect them and
sure.
Wrapped up in that cliche, better the devil you know. The problems that creates for us, Claire, is immeasurable, as I'm sure we can all testify to. So, who they aimed at is people that that are just experience everyday little pebbles in the shoe that are creating sort of major knock-on problems, and that they can relate to a co-author story, be that around be it whatever. Okay, well if that's how he or she got over that challenge, then maybe that's an insight that I didn't have previously, and maybe that might work for me. And there are examples of where that's happened, and the cathartic nature of writing as well.
Both books of Speaking from the Heart have a number of contributing authors. What made you go down this road rather than sole authorship?
Well, initially when I self-published in 2000 with a book, which started off as a bet, and it actually made me a lot of money. And then I realised that, okay, so allegedly, Paul, you've got a powerful story. And I kind of went down that solo route for various poems and what have you. And then I thought, well, hang on, so if this is me, there must be a lot of other people that's got that similar or parallel journey. And that collectiveness, that togetherness, really, Claire, was the idea behind the co-authorship. It's, yes, this is my story, but I am just one of many.
Yeah, very much so, very much so. I think I'm correct in saying you'll have more books in this series.
Yeah, that is correct, Claire. Obviously books 1 and 2, as you've already alluded to, are already out. Working on book 3 at the moment. And then starting from 2020, we're focusing on maybe three a year.
Right.
4 months. So yes.
You're receiving some lovely reviews over on Amazon, including excellent book, lots of diverse stories of inspiration as well as some profound messages. And this book is truly inspirational. Each story resonates with some part of our lives. Stories of warriors and survivors. It's a fantastic read. They're lovely reviews. Do you think we need these kinds of books more than ever, considering the uncertainty of how things are in the world today?
Yeah, the 4 key words that you used for me there, Claire. Even more than ever, because there is even more than ever. I think this world, I always feel that as individuals we're not broken, we're not robots, we're not machines, but I think collectively this world and people are looking out for that inspiration, for something different. People have had it now with this fear-driven way of being, and people are becoming more and more enlightened and understanding that there is more and they want more. So, yeah, absolutely. The world is ready for this new revolution of, okay, so show us what the alternative is, because the old system, doesn't work.
Oh, no, it doesn't. And everything does seem to be fear-driven. But everything we read online or in the news is fear-driven. And yet I think there's more people who are enlightened than ever, but we don't hear about them.
No, and I think it's, there's probably a parallel there, I mean, there's nothing. I don't think there's anything new on this planet. It's just that as time goes by, we learn to paint it a different colour.
Right.
People sort of, they get more. They peel back the layers, I think, as time goes by, and I think that's what's happening now around this. I think there was we got this sort of stereotypical swinging 60s with the hippies and all that, and there was, sort of semi-castigated because they were weird, inverted commas, not normal, and all these labels. Whereas now, it's okay or it's certainly more acceptable to be using the language of love.
Yeah.
Something from my own point of view, that as one that's been labelled an alpha male over many years, that people are surprised, but becoming increasingly less surprised, Claire, that I talk around the language of love rather than the language of fear.
Tell me something about your background and what led you to writing, co-authoring these books.
Well, that's kind of quite nicely sort of picking up on what I've just said about my using the language of love now, and that stark contrast to my upbringing. Basically, from a very early age, i.e. 8 years of age, my mother remarried the guy who I subsequently wrote about in another one of my books, Virgin from the Forest. I called him the Beast, and that hopefully gives listeners an insight as to what kind of character he was. Diplomatic and polite there. He turned my world upside down. The man was, and I don't use this word lightly, but evil, and I mean evil. His behaviour towards me, my mother, was despicable in the extreme. And basically, that sent me on from a very early age on a very, very rapid downward spiral where I'd become addicted to drink at an early age. I learned violence as a coping mechanism, and this whole kind of way of just raw survival. I learned the power of beliefs, or should I say, I learned the power of giving your belief away, because I attached that to something bigger than me, which was a football club, which was fine when they was winning, but when they was losing, my world was was in tatters, and that happened in 1974 in a big cup game, and as a result, I couldn't understand the betrayal of this beloved football team who I gave everything to, and yet they betrayed me by getting beat. And I just needed to end it all because I could no longer cope with the emotional pain. So, obviously over the years I've worked through that, the dark depressions and the labels that I acquired and the limiting beliefs that have been bestowed upon me by the Beast and all this dark, desperate stuff. One of the top practitioners in the world. Studied research, amalgamated that to my own personal experiences, made sense of it, spoke to countless people around the world around what's your experience, does this hold water, and wrote about it. And that's why I massively believe now in the cathartic and the powerful nature of, writing your story. Because for me, Claire, there's a paradox here. And I'm a great advocate of Wayne Dyer and his paradoxical thinking.
Me too.
Versus duality concept that we're all embroiled in. And, for me, the cathartic, when I write, I become a character. I become a true character. My stories are very stark, they're very real, they're very true. They were based on a truth that I saw at a given moment in time. And when I've written it, I then actually disregard the script because it's a part of my life that's past, it's gone. Whatever it was or whatever it wasn't is how I saw it at that moment in time.
Yeah.
And I move on from it. And I kind of liken it because I'm a massive music lover, and one of the influential records, one of many, was the Nights in White Satin from the Moody Blues. Letters I've written never meaning to send. And I think there's a great parallel for me, Claire, in my writing to say, okay, the healing, the cathartic nature, as I keep referring to, I've written this letter, but I don't really need to send it. In fact, I can rip it up now because I've dumped that emotion on paper.
Yeah. Absolutely. Let's go on to talk about your Speaking from Our Hearts Community Interests Company. What is the idea behind this?
The idea behind that Claire, is part of my, so through my black and white, what I term my black and white years, where life was either very white, i.e. was not drinking, and I trained really hard physically, mentally, get myself in real peak condition, relationships, job-wise, but then sabotage it because of deservingness issues, into a black phase, which is usually end up with me in the gutter, as I say, self-sabotaging. But one of the things then, when I was in a white phase, is like, okay, this is my belief system was such that I took so much out of society in the black phase, get myself in trouble, breaking people's hearts through, walking away from relationships, just basically giving up to then bounce back twice as fast. And so this kind of polarised way of existing for decades, truth be known. But in the white phases, Claire, for me, it was a term I learned when I was on that fateful day of the 23rd of March 1974 when I attempted suicide. And when I came out of that, it was a profound experience. Something happened in that moment. And my words were to myself, and I didn't even understand these words as a kid, but I will fight for the rest of my life for the underdog. Now, I probably picked that up from football parlance, but I don't know where it comes from. And I've used that since, and people have said, Paul, it's a bit patronising to say you'll fight for the underdog. Now, I've learnt over the years to be a bit kind of more respectful, I suppose, on the surface about how I convey that message, but in real terms, Claire, I still, in my mind and in my heart, fight for people that are not quite strong enough to fight for themselves. And I've obviously had to strip out all the judgment on that. But that's the basic sort of background between the Community Interest Company to set up that charitable mechanism for people that need help. And what I've done over the years, I've formed charities, social enterprises, raised some very, very significant funds for charities, both local and national and international. And that's the kind of the idea behind it. It goes back to that very, I've already used the word patronising, but powerful outlook on fighting for the underdog.
The Community Interest Company, let's call it the CIC from now on, has a threefold purpose, doesn't it? What is that?
Yeah, so the first part of that is to help people find their purpose. And I know how powerful that is. If in very simple terms, it's a reason for us to get out of bed in the morning. Even in my dark days, Claire, of my what I call my black phases, I had a reason. It was to go out and drink. When I woke up off a park bench or out of a gutter, I had a reason. I needed another drink. We all need a purpose. Obviously, the secret of that is to give yourself a positive, empowering purpose rather than negative, disempowering one.
Sure.
So that was the first one. The second part is then through my podcast and through my books is give people a platform for their voices to be heard. So that, people, for example, in the context of the book, for example, I hear so many people say, I want to write. I don't think I've got a full book in me, or I don't know where to start, but I've got a message to share. And so with that, it's like, well, why don't you become a co-author? We can guide you, we can help you, we can support you, you'll be in good company, because, there are a lot of people in the same boat. And the world absolutely needs to hear your story. Because however insignificant you may think or feel it is, believe me, I know from the endless and the countless it isn't. And that's part of our purpose, moving on from the initial purpose, is to help get those messages out. And with the pod, so it's not necessarily through the books, Claire, through the podcast. So come on and tell your story. Let's have a conversation and let's share those messages.
Well, we'll go to your podcast in a minute. So what's the third purpose? What's the third part of the purpose?
Well, that's basically, so when we look at the purpose, and then we look at the prosperity that I've just alluded to, of sharing, the good life that goes with, the better life that goes with actually sharing stories, is the philanthropy. And so that's the giving back element, which is that brings in, yet again, community interest and the charitable element. But that's, okay, so I've now got purpose in life. I get out of bed in the morning, but I need more than that. So I want a prosperous life, and that's not necessarily financial. That's about good health, good well-being. And I've learned lessons to get to that stage. The philanthropy is those lessons that I've learned, I need to share them with the world, because that's ultimately, in my humble opinion, why we're all on this planet, because we learn and we grow and we share lessons of learning so that others may benefit. And obviously the book and the podcast is an excellent medium for that, sharing.
Was there a particular person, an author or a speaker that's inspired you whilst on your Speaking from the Heart journey?
What a fantastic question that is.
Thank you.
Oh dear, where do I start with that one? I'm going to be contradictory on that, Claire, and say no. But I'm going to offer a massive caveat stroke however. A particular person, there was a certain character that breezed into this world, and particularly my boyhood club, Nottingham Forest, in 1975 by the name of Brian Clough. Now I'm going to attribute the name of the role of speaker to him, because his power and his whole way, I modelled myself in early years on Brian Clough, and because I sensed, and I've later had this conversation, with the Clough family, but I sensed there was something, and I didn't know because I hadn't got the emotional maturity or the intellectual experience to be able to define what this was. But I just knew that with Brian Clough, that guy reached me. He reached me massively in a world where I had no role models, male role models. All my role models were females. They continue to be, very strong in my life throughout this journey. But Brian came in and he was monumental, the way he spoke, the power, the so-called perception of who is this loudmouth, opinionated person. But I knew it wasn't. I somehow knew that there was hell of a lot more to the character than what. So he was very, very powerful and influential as a speaker. Shirley Bassey, another one. Obviously not a speaker, but her record. One of my all-time favourite records, and that's some big statement for any mind. I'm a massive music lover. Is when she sang "This Is My Life," because she encapsulates the rawness, the vulnerability, the emotion. That embodies all of us, Claire. We've all got it. Now, whether we care to share that, well, that's a different story altogether. I'm experiencing that because I wore a mask as a tough drinking, tough fighting alpha male for many years. What I was really saying was, I'm so vulnerable and hurting inside. Please don't come near me anymore and hurt me because I can't take anymore.
Yeah.
And I couldn't show that to the world. Maybe I could actually, and I know yes I can because now I do. But at the time I didn't have that awareness. So you've asked me if a speaker or an author. The irony of the authorship, Claire, is although I'm obviously involved in books quite heavily now, I was never a great reader.
You'll tell me about your podcast show now, Speaking from the Heart. What is the message behind the podcast?
Very simple. We all have a voice, so let's be heard.
It's more or less the same as the tagline for Book Talk Radio Club, giving authors a voice. Same kind of thing.
And it is clear, because I think for me, and that brings in another aspect of our lives, that I believe that life is a very, very, very simple game. We, as human beings, and our minds, boy, do we complicate it.
Oh, very much so.
But life is a simple game, and I'll probably allude to that a bit later on. But that is, in simplistic terms, that is it. We've all got a voice. Now, some people want to shout from the rooftops to millions, and other people just want a quiet word in confidence. But for me, there's no distinction between the two, because we've all got a message, and we all need and want to be heard.
Your website is so informative. It's a pleasure to browse around. You have a page called Our People. Who are your people?
That's again. I mean, these are fantastic questions, Claire. Our people. On that website that you allude to is a medical doctor from Denmark by the name of Freya Eriksen. And she's also a singer-songwriter, and you'll listen to, if you visit the website, you'll hear and listen to her song, which is called Love Revolution, Arise. And one of the lines in that, Claire, is, we're gathering our tribe. And we are calling our people, we're gathering our tribe. So our people and our tribe, if you will, in the context of speaking from our hearts, Freya is our patron. We've then got an array of global ambassadors, which range geographically from Sally Saunders in New Zealand to Natasha Rosewood in Canada. We've got people in America. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to go through every single one. We've got a board of directors, obviously, through the Community Interest Company. So we've got that amalgamation of these real spiritual warriors and amalgamated to business people, but we all share one thing. We're all heart-centered.
Yeah.
So we're scattered around the world. We've got different experiences that we bring to the to the party, so to speak. So that is our people.
Your services focus around 3 key areas. What are these, and how do you achieve them?
Well, I suppose there's 3 key areas. For me, if I understand that correctly, Claire, is what I've already alluded to as the 3 P's of purpose, prosperity, and philanthropy.
Yeah.
So the purpose, I personally do purposeful coaching, where I work with individuals and help them to find their true life's purpose, not what they think it is or what their mind thinks it is, because for that I use the terminology, if we're not fully aware, tail could wag dog. So it's about stripping that out, saying, okay, who is the real you? What are those doubts, those questions you ask yourself? And we dig down on those. So that's the first one, about building on that reason to get out of bed. Give yourself a real positive, empowering purpose. And then the second one, Claire, as alluded to previously, is the philanthropy. Is the prosperity. Because to get out of bed is not enough. We need more. We deserve more, and we are more. So it's around, yet again, raising that awareness and saying, okay, so what does prosperity look like to you? And that doesn't necessarily have to be financial. In fact, for me personally, it's not financial. It's about that holistic well-being. Our health is absolutely paramount, in my humble opinion, because yet again, to quote a well-known cliche, without your health, you have nothing.
Absolutely.
Your health, can't buy me love from the Beatles, and all these things that simplistically underpin that. And then the final piece, the philanthropy, which I alluded to earlier on, they're about giving back. We've got this great way of life, whatever this may be, this great energy that we've learned, we've acquired, we've rediscovered is actually the correct way to do it. And it's about sharing that and giving back. So in simple terms, it is the 3 P's of purpose, prosperity, philanthropy. And obviously the philanthropy is through the charity, the prosperity is through the books and the podcast, and as I've said already, the purpose is through purposeful coaching and mentoring that I do personally.
Paul, I was going to say, I think your passion for helping other people, but I'm going to say I know your passion for helping other people runs through your veins. Can you put into one simple message something inspiring to say to any of our listeners experiencing severe difficulties in their life?
Wow. Yeah.
Stumps you there.
Well, for a second, because the reason, there's 2 powerful messages, and they're both very brief. And I think, building on what I've said previously, Claire, around the, life is a simple game. The very first podcast I put out last September was called Mastering Life is as Simple as ABC. And this is based on experiential learning and, as I say, working with some of the world's top practitioners to put it in context of delivering a distilled, simple message. The A is awareness. It's our starting point. Without awareness, we don't know what we don't know. The B is the beliefs. What do we actually believe in? Because all beliefs are actually false. It's a snapshot of who we are or where we are at any given moment in time. So if we believed that when we was a child that size 10 shoes would be too big for us, well, at the time, if we took a size 3, yeah, they would. But as an adult, maybe size 10 shoes aren't too big for us. So everything's time related, and it reflects that moment. So it is that snapshot of that moment. And then the C is the creativity. How do we look at this challenge? How do we look at this situation, this predicament, or whatever, where we are now? How do we look at this? Because just because we think a certain way, it doesn't make it right, it doesn't make it wrong. It makes it what it is. But by more creative thinking, we can probably look at things a bit differently, and use of metaphoric language, for example. So to deliver my first message, mastering life really is as simple as ABC. And it's learning the rules of the game. So you can play it and you can use it for your benefit, so that life happens through you, not to you. Because if it happens to you, for me, that's a pseudonym for becoming a victim. And I wore that hat for many years. And the other one, even more simplistically, Claire, is, and this is kind of from the Marion Williamson school of thought, choose love, not fear.
Exactly. Well, lastly, where can people purchase your wonderful books? And of course, let's have your website address.
Right, well, they're available on Amazon. We're just in the process of starting up our new online store, which they'll be available through that as well. And so Amazon mainly. I think that's the this certain bookstores as well. But I think for simplicity, Claire, for this moment in time, it's just a point towards Amazon.
Right, and let's have your website address, of course.
The Speaking From Our Hearts, so it's www.speakingfromourhearts.org.
Wonderful. All right, well, thank you, Paul. That was just great. Please come back on Book Talk Radio Club again. I'd love to chat with you and hear more. In the meantime, good luck for the future, and thank you, everyone, for listening to Book Talk Radio Club. Thank you very much, Paul.
Thank you, Claire. My pleasure.
Bye now.